The diner off Highway 61 wasn't famous, just stubborn. One of those places that refused to modernize. Neon sign, cracked leather booths, a jukebox that still ate quarters. Locals said Elvis Presley once stopped there late in the summer of 1956, when Memphis still felt small and the world hadn't learned his name by heart. The owner framed the rumor like it was history. Lena didn't come for legends. She came for distance. After a breakup that left her hollow and angry, she took a night shift job, hoping exhaustion would drown the memories. The first week was quiet, until the jukebox began playing on its own after closing. It wasn't random music. It was always the same track, always the same timing. 12:33 a.m. The moment the last employee clocked out. The lights would dim slightly. The air would turn strangely still. And a soft, warm scent, cologne and cigarette smoke, would drift through the empty room, like someone had just walked in from the rain. Then the booth by the window, booth 7, would crease, as if someone heavy had sat down. Lena watched it happen from behind the counter, heart pounding. The vinyl crackled and a voice rose from the jukebox. Smooth, unmistakable. "Elvis Presley," she whispered, half in disbelief. The song wasn't on the diner's playlist. The manager swore the record had been broken for years, and yet the booth stayed warm long after the music ended, as if the night itself refused to let the king leave. Lena stayed late the next night with a plan. Prove it was a wiring glitch, a prank, anything that didn't require the word paranormal. She counted the minutes until 12:33 a.m., standing in the darkened diner with her phone ready to record. The neon sign outside buzzed softly. The kitchen smelled like cold grease and burnt coffee. Right on time, the jukebox clicked. A record dropped, though no one had touched it. The needle landed with a gentle hiss, and the first notes floated out, low and intimate. It sounded like Elvis Presley, but not like any studio track she'd ever heard. His voice was closer, softer, as if he was singing just a few feet away instead of through old speakers. Lena swallowed hard and whispered, "That's not possible." The booth by the window creased again. The leather sank as if someone leaned back, comfortable. Then the diner's paper napkin dispenser rattled once, like a nervous tap of fingers. Lena's pulse hammered. She stepped forward. The air turned warm around booth 7, like a pocket of summer inside the cold room. On the table, a smear appeared on the dusty glass. An outline of a hand, big and confident, the kind that might have gripped a microphone for a living. Her phone screen flickered, refusing to focus. Through the distortion, she heard a line that wasn't in any Elvis song she knew. "Don't let him break your heart, and call it love." Lena froze. That sentence was too precise, too personal. No jukebox could know what she'd been running from. And yet the voice, Elvis Presley's voice, sounded like it did. The following afternoon, Lena found the old photograph while cleaning the storage shelf behind the counter. It was tucked between menus no one used anymore. A black and white print of the diner in the 1950s. Neon sign glowing. Cars angled like they'd stopped in a hurry. At first glance, nothing seemed unusual. Then she noticed booth 7. Someone was sitting there. The figure was blurred, caught mid-movement, but the posture was unmistakable. Shoulders relaxed, one arm draped along the backrest, head tilted slightly as if listening to a song only he could hear. The face wasn't clear enough to confirm anything, yet the silhouette tugged at her chest with a strange familiarity. Lena turned the photo over. Written in faded ink were 4 words. He liked the corner. That night, at exactly 12:33 a.m., the jukebox stayed silent. No click, no needle drop. The diner felt different, expectant, almost polite. Lena approached booth 7 and set the photograph on the table. The air warmed instantly. The vinyl seat dipped, gently this time, like someone easing in. A low hum filled the space, not a song, just a melody searching for words. Lena felt it vibrate through her ribs. "I'm listening," she said softly, surprising herself. The hum faded. In its place came a single breath, followed by a whisper, calm, kind, and undeniably Elvis Presley's voice. "Some places remember us, even when people don't." The booth lifted. The warmth lingered, and Lena realized the diner wasn't haunted. It was holding on to a goodbye that had never been finished. Lena noticed the change just before closing. Booth 7 had moved. Not far, just enough to be wrong. The table now angled slightly toward the jukebox, as if whoever sat there wanted a clearer view. Lena checked the floor. No drag marks, no scuffs. The booth hadn't been pushed. It had turned. At 12:33 a.m., the lights didn't dim this time. They softened, glowing warmer, kinder. The jukebox didn't play a record. Instead, a low instrumental hum filled the diner, steady and rhythmic, like a rehearsal before lyrics. Lena felt it in her chest, the way you feel music before you recognize it. The air near booth 7 grew thick, alive. The vinyl seat dipped, deeper than before, confident. Then the jukebox screen flickered, not showing song titles but a reflection. Lena standing behind the counter, and beside her, a tall shape made of light and shadow. She didn't turn. She didn't have to. "I never liked singing alone," the voice said gently. Elvis Presley's voice, older somehow, worn smooth by time. "Even when the crowd thought I was." The booth shifted again, facing the jukebox fully now. The hum sharpened into a melody Lena recognized without knowing how. A song Elvis never recorded, but somehow remembered. Lena's eyes filled. "Why here?" she asked. The answer came like a smile in the dark. "Because this place still listens." And for the first time, Lena understood. The diner wasn't a stop on the road. It was a stage that never closed. That night, Lena didn't rush to clean. She wiped the counter slowly, listening. The diner felt alert, like it knew she was paying attention now. At 12:33 a.m., the jukebox finally spoke, but not with music. It crackled softly, searching, as if choosing something carefully. Then Elvis Presley's voice came through, low and close, without melody. "You hear the quiet better when you've been hurt," he said. Lena froze. This wasn't a song. This wasn't a recording. It sounded like someone talking from the other side of a wall. Present, thoughtful, real. Booth 7 dipped again, the leather sighing under invisible weight. She stepped closer. The air was warm, familiar, comforting. "I didn't know how to stay," the voice continued, "so I kept moving." Lena swallowed. She thought about her own leaving, how she'd run instead of explaining, how silence had felt safer than truth. The jukebox lights pulsed once, like a slow heartbeat. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked quietly. The answer came after a pause. "Every place that remembers you misses you back." The booth lifted. The warmth faded just slightly, but Lena stayed standing there long after, knowing the diner wasn't just replaying Elvis Presley's past. It was letting him finish sentences he never got to say. The next evening, Lena found a new record resting inside the jukebox. No label, no scratches, just a smooth black disc that hadn't been there before. Her hands hesitated as she touched it. The surface was warm, like it had been played recently. At 12:33 a.m., the needle lowered on its own. A melody filled the diner, slow, tender, unfamiliar. Then Elvis Presley began to sing, not loudly, not for an audience. His voice sounded older, steadier, shaped by regret and acceptance. It wasn't any song Lena recognized. It felt unfinished, like a confession he'd never trusted the studio to hold. The booth creased deeply, and the air shimmered. The song spoke of leaving too early, of loving places more than people, of fame drowning out the sound of home. Lena leaned against the counter, breath caught in her chest. When the final note faded, the record lifted slightly, then stopped spinning. "That was beautiful," she whispered. Elvis's voice returned, gentle and almost shy. "Some songs aren't meant to be sold," he said. "They're meant to be heard once, by someone who understands." The record slid back into the shadows of the jukebox, disappearing as quietly as it arrived. Lena realized then that she wasn't witnessing a haunting. She was being trusted with something rare, a song the world never owned. On the seventh night, nothing happened at 12:33 a.m. No warmth, no shifting booth, no voice. The jukebox stayed dark, its lights unblinking. The silence felt heavier than any song, pressing against Lena's ears until she wondered if she'd imagined everything after all. She locked the front door and stood alone in the diner, heart uneasy. Booth 7 looked ordinary again, still, cold, empty. The air smelled only of cleaning spray and old coffee. For the first time in days, the place felt abandoned. Then, slowly, every sound disappeared. The hum of the refrigerator faded. The neon sign outside went dark. Even the highway noise beyond the windows dissolved, as if the world had stepped back to give the room space. Lena felt it then, not a presence, but a pause. The jukebox clicked once, its screen lit up, not with song titles, but with a reflection. Lena saw herself standing there, and behind her a tall shadow, calm and familiar, hands resting on the back of booth 7. Elvis Presley's voice came softly, without music. "I don't come back to sing," he said. "I come back to listen." The shadow faded. The sounds returned all at once: cars, electricity, life. Lena exhaled, trembling. She understood now. This wasn't about ghosts staying behind. It was about knowing when to leave something gently, so it could finally rest. Chapter 8. The Booth That Finally Cooled. Approximately 1,180 characters. On the final night of her shift, Lena arrived early. The diner felt lighter, as if something had already been decided. She brewed coffee, wiped the counter, and waited. When the clock reached 12:33 a.m., nothing moved. No music, no warmth, no invisible weight settling into booth 7. She approached it slowly and placed her hand on the vinyl. Cold. For the first time since the nights began, the booth was completely still. Lena smiled softly, sadness and relief blending in her chest. She understood what the silence meant. The jukebox flickered once, briefly, and Elvis Presley's voice came through. Not singing, not whispering, just a calm, steady goodbye. "Thank you for listening," he said. "That's all I needed." The lights returned to normal. The diner felt like a diner again. Just neon, coffee, and road dust. No echoes. No holding on. Lena locked up an hour later and stepped outside. The night air was quiet, peaceful. She realized something had shifted inside her, too. She didn't feel like running anymore. The next morning, booth 7 was just a booth. No warmth. No legend clinging to it. But somewhere between the jukebox and the silence, a goodbye had finally been completed. And that, Lena knew, was how even legends learn to rest.